Welcome everyone to Dynasty the Podcast Show. I am your host, Ira Thomas Bush the Fourth, and we are back this week with another episode. I just want to say, man, thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for tuning in. It's been a very it's this the beginning of this journey on my podcast series. We're trying to fine tune, and I'm doing it. I'm doing my show in the same place, but they got me moving around depending on the day, who checks out what space in what area. This is actually the studio, the booth. So I actually like being here more, but we hopefully we can get it down pat where we have a consistent time. But we're not tripping about that. As long as we put the content, put the get y'all in tune, stay out, keep y'all in touch with what's going on in the world of politics, sports, the community, and anything entertainment that's worth speaking of. So, what I would say this is shout out to my family, shout out to anybody. Today I called it the intro to Elite Association. I'm trying to get everything in DC organized as far as my, so just being, who I just making sure I'm not cross cutting nobody off and doing anything incorrect. You got to come correct when you step into a new area. So I've been doing that for the last few weeks. They give me a run around a lot of situations, but today is a turning point. I don't feel like I'm lack of far as information or what I need to do or how I need to do. I just got to put the work in, kind of. So, it was very, the crazy thing is today where I go every morning, well, most mornings now, depending on the situation, they came and spoke to us, and I just let them know, I need, reference and stuff like that. But the guy who spoke up was like, gave me that nice, nasty energy. And I was like, well, I just spoke on the same thing that you kind of coming in being fake about. And it's like they in these fraternities and stuff. And I'm not speaking on like I'm in one or I'm trying to be associated with one. Or this is what I kind of let them know when I was speaking to them in front of everybody. And I was like, that's unnecessary. So I just kind of like, I don't want the person who I know is in part of that group was actually one of my coaches. I want that to be known that I appreciate them bringing that type of support because, whether I didn't like him or not, and whenever he's still a black man in America, so I don't want, and he's older, and and if they're trying to patch things up that I'm unseen from my eyes, and them being in a certain group, hopefully things get patched because at the end I didn't like the way the guy came to me being fake, but I'm trying to figure out why. Like it's unnecessary to come if you wanted to be fake. You know what I'm saying? So, they already do certain things at that facility in that building. So, but I got other stuff going on that, that doesn't have nothing to do with them. And I tried to let them know I'm trying to get past all the haters and the old people and the retirees or front to be retirees or whatever you say. I'm trying to get my funds up and my establishment going in the proper and correct way. And that's all it is. I'm not shortcutting myself, and I'm not taking myself for granted or putting anything above what I'm trying to establish. Like I always remind y'all, I have a child. This whole podcast is the naming of it, the whole energy behind it is who she is as a woman, a young woman, a young lady. Is she like to speak? She like to laugh. She like to entertain. This is dedicated to my daughter. Like this is for sure. And my niece, my nephew, the same way. A lot of stuff has went on that has stopped their light, that dim their light, not stop their light, dim their light and their abilities. And I want people to know about it. And I already was gonna go into the political world, but it's they forced my hand early, but I don't mind it. This is what I tell them before they like were them too much, or I felt like they was them too much. You know what I'm saying? Because I seen them as young children, and I seen what the trajectory of them trying to be singled as one type of thing, and it was multiple things, and it was gifted in multiple areas. Same with my niece, my two oldest nieces, and that's all the children in my family. What it could be an example of you too. I want y'all to remember that's how I speak, and when I'm around them. So it's I don't understand what the problem is. I'm not even putting y'all in prison or jail. Like, I'm just putting y'all as examples of what y'all should not be doing. I could do way worse. I could be the way that people do stuff and then want to crowd the law enforcement and put people on paperwork and all this stuff that they've been doing practicing for so long. I'm confused about me just speaking out aloud in public. I know in the biggest level that you guys are being handled and you were running from that. But that don't mean you continue to do what you've been doing improper. That's why you're in trouble now. That's why you're in chaos and turmoil now, because you're not understanding what's going on for sure. And just get out the way. That's the biggest thing. That's my biggest message to anybody who's standing in the way of the greatness and the trajectory of greatness and high power. And that's what it is. Today we're gonna speak on, it's really gonna be a light show. It's three new executive orders that were signed this month. I'm gonna break those down. Then I'm gonna talk about the NBA playoffs, and then we're gonna close it out. I have somewhere to go. I'm gonna be on in the weight room with the team. Hopefully, I ain't the way it is set up. I ain't come here to be the way I am. I don't come here to do nothing but my assignment. I'm not here to tap dance for nobody. I'm here to be a help, or take the reins as who I am, fully. Whether you want me in a small capacity or a big capacity, I don't. All I do is ask for opportunities. I don't, and I earn my opportunities. I earn my stripes wherever I go. I don't have time to compete with if we're supposed to be on the same team. That's what I ain't doing. I've been in this game coaching wise I counted it yesterday. I did it math. It'll be 17 years officially in July. So, August or July, whichever one y'all want to say my start date was, when the first game was or whatnot. But I know what I put in time for as practicing, and that's what we ain't gonna go back and forth with. So yeah, it's been a long time. I ain't really stressing it. This is not gonna stop. And then there's just like a small piece of my life, because I have a family that's great, and I want to actually stay in touch with my grandfather and get back to that. I have to actually this is the stuff that I like to do. I want to go watch the game with him on Saturdays and Sundays. I want to be able to have my own car and go, pick up, take my nephew to go see his great grandfather and stuff like that. People have stopped little stuff that's easy for me. It's a 2 or 3 hour drive back from where they stay. It shouldn't be hard for me to be able to do that on the weekends and them having a rapport with each other. This is the stuff that I be seeing people get in the way of. Like, move, move out the way. This is important. Y'all need to move out the way. So I ain't never been on no hating stuff or no dissing stuff. These people don't act like I haven't been putting in the work, and I have. I don't miss ceremonies. I don't like ceremonies that ain't fun and celebratory, and people be there that did some creep, flaw cursing and hating, and I don't witness it myself. I don't have to do nothing. I'm not nobody. My mom is so high powered. My grandmother is so high powered. We talk about these types of things since I was little. So, people don't notice that they don't even, be on the same correlation with this type of stuff. And I ain't dealing with all that middleman or middle family members that don't understand. That ain't even on the same power or strength that we on. That ain't nothing to do with. They ain't my dealers. I don't. If I get to the basis of it, certain stuff will be eliminated. You know what I'm talking about? Like, if I get that switch of, but it ain't even that. It ain't even on that. It's like, just go ahead about your way, and I speak to you how it ain't gonna be nothing changed about my tone of the situation. Like I said, my father already ascended because certain people needed his help and wanted his help, and they didn't know how to handle it. And they ain't pay their way. They ain't do what they was supposed to do. So they ain't deny all that. It's still when he been going for he done sentenced several years now. So that's personal, but we're gonna get right to it. We're gonna talk about this executive orders. The first one was signed on the 3rd. It's called Ensuring Citizenship Verification Integrity of Federal Elections. And by the way, I'm gonna probably step through tomorrow, check out a few of those just those, man, it's so funny when I went the last time. I'm gonna go to the senator's office, and and go to the meet the. They call them. They're supposed to be hearings. They're meetings more like they're trying to be on the same side. I don't know. They ain't inviting everybody. Everybody ain't showing up. I've been in there long enough to see that they ain't all on the same page. They be acting. So we're gonna talk about the executive orders, these three executive orders tomorrow. I might go to a few hearings depending on my schedule and break them down and come talk to them about them because that's important right now. There's change happening, and let's get right to it. Ensuring citizenship verification integrity of the federal elections. You hear what they said now. Let's read it. By the authority, oh, we ain't gonna read that. Purpose and policy. The right to vote in federal elections reserved exclusively for citizens of the United States under the Constitution and federal law. Federal statutes expliciting prohibited non-citizens from registering to vote and voting in federal elections and impose criminal penalties for violations. There are several violations listed. I'm not going to read those out. Just okay, I'm gonna read the penalty, the violations. These are the codes for them. 18 U.S.C. Another penalty. 241. Okay, it's 18 US U.S.C. 241. The other penalty, 18 U.S.C. 611. Another penalty, 18 US U.S.C. 1015, and 52 U.S.C. 2511. Okay, those are the penalty codes. The Social Security Administration (SSA) maintains records that the conjunction of Department of Homeland Security (DHS) systematic alien verification and for entitlement save program under code 42 U.S.C. 1320B dash 7 can assist in verifying identity in federal elections voter eligibility. The federal government has unavoided the duty under the second Article 2 and the Constitution of the United States enforce federal law. They just had a big hearing that I didn't go to because they was talking about the taxes that they didn't pay me yet, and they was kind of coming there being all with the little bully type of ceremony. But I wasn't stunned that a lot of stuff happened because I've been speaking on these things and I've been going into these hearings, which I'm not mad about. They still want to be mad about $3,000 that they didn't pay me, but let's continue. Let's stay focused. Federal criminal law maintaining public confidence in election outcomes to enhance elections integrity via the United States mail. They've been messing with people mail for a very long time. Additional measures are necessary. Secure ballot envelope identifiers provide a reliable and audible mechanism to enforce federal law with unduly burdening and infringing the rights of eligible voters on unique ballots. Envelope identifiers such as barcodes enable confirmations that only citizens receive and cast ballots, reducing the risk of fraud and protecting the integrity of federal elections. So that's the basis of this. I like, they speaking very high level right now on this. But it's kind of one of those things that they already got an executive order for. This is the number for this executive order is 14399. If speaking in code, they put so many codes that I'm not going into details about. Y'all got the codes. They go on the website that I'm looking on. You can click on them. They gonna break down these codes. The problem is there's so many things that is one thing, but they got so many codes and regulations for one thing, and that's the issue with the beginning. If you remember in American government that you learn in college and in high school, the biggest problem is they were making too many taxes and codes and enforcing because somebody wanted $1. This guy wanted $1, that guy wanted $1, that guy wanted $1, and they're not good human beings. They stacked up too many ways to steal from people, and they not trying to not steal. They still trying to steal. They still trying to control. And it's not. It's an issue with me. I'm not mad at the executive order. It's already an executive order created. It's already a code created for the same problem. All you got to do is reiterate the stuff that has already happened. They said the Help America Act was in 2002, and you know about the Constitution. It's been formed since the 1700s. I don't know what they got going on. They just need to figure out how to reiterate what they already signed, or exterminate everything and then use these stuff as references. They gotta eliminate so many of these stupid penalties and reason why is not, and program under here and program over there. It's not that. It's too much. They trying to confuse. They confusing themselves really, because the way people moving now, especially in this area, and what I can see from Florida, they try to claim these two states are these two areas are claiming freedom, free state, free whatever. So where I'm from, where right here, it's the same type of energy, just different, scenarios and situations, different ways. Cause like over here, they cater towards the men in Washington D.C. and Florida, they cater towards the women. So I'm actually in a good, way better environment for getting help. Now they trying to finesse and stuff, being that I'm new and I don't know every little back corner and back door ways to execute what I need to do, but it's just gonna take a little bit more time. They're gonna continue to try to do. You know how a game go. I ain't really tripping about it. I would want them to stop. I would want them to let them know that I need my intellectual property like this at all times, so I could be my highest level. I don't like people messing with me in that manner. But I spoke on it today. I feel very well. I was, tell you all the time how they try to put me to sleep. But if he, and I don't know, who's controlling that and trying to make that a thing. But I got to where I needed to go today. I got everything I needed to do. So let's go to the second executive order that we're gonna read today. These two are on the urgent national action to save college sports. Now that's funny. I'm glad they actually got something on that. I didn't know that college sports needed to be saved. So that's new information to me. I do know that when I was one of the first people that said the biggest problem with them paying will be that they're basically turning college sports into a pro league, and that's anything dealing with sports. Now they made it. They're mad. The main reason I'm not mad at what changing college sports into pro leagues, basically a junior varsity league of any sports now, because they're getting paid 500,000 or more usually, or 200. It was 250 when they first signed, 200K, basing off like their whole career, and some of them get paid at a year, but now it's probably increased to around 300, 350. And it's not a bad thing, because people have to take care of their mothers and fathers, because the way the system is set up, most of these sports, the even soccer, baseball, football, basketball, all these people have urban are mostly Spanish and African American, or African descent humans. Those are the people that populate sports. Track, same thing. There's nobody out here out jumping and outrunning these humans. So what y'all need to understand is it's not a bad thing. They're trying to make another rule to control the NCAA is some of the most white supremacist groups that you will ever known to mankind, based off their way of controlling that one token sports athlete that's usually black or brown, and trying to destroy the rest of their family for success of their product. And it happens all the time. They want them to either, if they don't go pro, they want to make sure they get their money back somehow, some way. And that's what the game was early on, and they trying to make it the game still in this generation. But the people like me that have watched, and I don't remember not wanting to, telling people I wanted to not get paid for coaching, but they tried to make that something because of how I was going to this basically secure myself as a coach and secure my family as well at the same time. They wanted to deteriorate. I'm just using myself as an example, deteriorate what I was trying to do, because they didn't do it, or they didn't have the discipline to keep going, to keep, you know, don't, not to they didn't want, I didn't allow people to mess up me as a coach. You know what I'm saying? I was still on point, teaching the games, and people didn't stay consistent enough to do what I had to do, and I already had the vision out the gate. So let's read this executive order though. Purpose and policy. America's system of college sports has long provided a scholarships, life-changing, educational, athletic, leadership opportunities to millions of America's future leaders and formed an important part of national fabric. And July 1st signed the executive order to protect college sports from endless lawsuits and destabilizing financial obligations that could jeopardize women's Olympic sports. But has become clear that more comprehensive executive actions is required before college sports are lost forever. College football primarily revenue generate the university's athletic department. Now y'all heard what they just said. That's been like that for years. The TV deals, the endorsement deals that these people are getting. Some of these players make $10 million a year, 10 million out. It's a the quarterbacks and the star wide receivers and some running backs who are real players and and then the quarterback usually feeds his team, breaking it off. They know how to earn. They get they O lineman, D lineman. Depending some D linemen making enough depending on their star power, and they getting the notoriety from the TV and the endorsements. But they've been making millions of dollars. Y'all can remember one of my favorite 30 for 30s is the SMU one, and the one about the Oklahoma running back. And these guys were they was making so much money in the 80s and stuff like that in the early 70s. I mean late 70s that they were paying these players like professional players. They were making more in college than they was making in the pros because the fan base it was that big in college because everybody was still going to college. It's the same amount of numbers. It barely changed. The buildings get bigger. They don't get smaller in college. A pro is the pro ratio is the pro ratio, and the TV deals and the attention that it's gained over the years. It's already at a certain level now. But college has been around. That was the first those were the first beginnings of it. And I talk about being the education system was formed from the natives and the slave masters that came over, and they formed the education system together because they didn't want a war, and they didn't want to keep killing all the natives that was already to this land of North America. People forget that's what the when they signed when they ended those wars and they signed the Independence Day, the Declaration of Independence, and all that stuff like that. That stuff comes from not wanting a war, not killing, y'all dying and not having enough food, and y'all being the weak soldiers that want to just shoot people. This stuff was happening, blow up stuff, y'all blowing each other up, blowing yourself up. This stuff is known information. The only reason why if you remember how they tell it in the history, they used to put it on the History Channel. The reason why was because they was outflanked. It was the landscape. It was all this stuff that they won. They didn't win because they had the best soldiers. They won because they had figured out how to maneuver. People didn't want to kill nobody. They would start wanting to kill, and they wanted to just combine. And that's what and the people wanted to establish their rule over this Prussian rule, and all this stuff that they was practicing was not what the people wanted. And like I was telling y'all, they made that stuff agreement to establish, and we was the one doing the some of these people wrote some stuff, but we were the one that told them what to write, or vice versa. They didn't have the idea. They didn't have this system was already in play. They came over here messing stuff up. So they wanted to put their name on top of something, and it already was established on how to teach and create villages and towns, and now we call them towns and cities, and then now it's expanded to states, which is what they were signing on. So 1500s turned into the 1700s. You know what I'm saying? It was over long periods of time, 200 years. So I don't know, but this stuff is documented. So let's continue to read. They trying to rewrite something that's this is a form this is college sports is a baby of the education system. This is what formulated competition. I don't know what they got going on, but they don't tell the basis of it, and it's agitated because we're in 2026. They want people to forget. Nobody forgot. You're not going to just write something in and be mad because they're getting paid now. It's unnecessary. Let's just continue. Amid the pressure, the rules of governing pay to play eligibility and other aspects of college athletics have been substantially loosened through the number of judicial ruling. Additional rules that institute order and consistency in these systems have been nullified by some state legislators and are insensitive to advantages their own states, universities, in the competitive market and student athletes by minimizing the barriers to recruitment. The chaotic state affairs has undermined competition, reduced opportunities for student athletes, and jeopardized support of the current range of college athletics, particularly the women's and the Olympic sports. Fair competition cannot occur with consistent set of rules concerning pay for play and player eligibility. They cannot be endlessly relegated in court. Now I'm gonna start right there. The issue is these people that are still prejudiced and in their countries in the Olympics, they wanted to control the market in the and what we would call international. And what happened is our stars are still bigger than they stars, and they took their system and flipped it. So like our star basketball players, our star track players, and our star Olympic winter game players. Shout out to those women because I know it's mostly them that's fighting for equality. I ain't dissing the men's side neither, but we win all the time in water sports. And I'll be thinking about that, and I know track. They know what it is because and we right next to Jamaica, and they win all the time. So I'm just being funny, but I be laughing because I look at it like this. We dominate sports, especially the African descent Black people and Africans, and especially those summer sports, and they trying to dilute the fact that it's bigger than playing the sports. It's the way that they're retesting on these people, and they've been trying to take genetics and switch them with very low genetic people and try to compete in the improper manner. And this stuff is documented on the steroids and HGH. And they don't even talk about that's what these people are mad about because we are already hip to what they want to really do, which is test subject these people, and they ain't allowing it. They don't wrote in the literature to stop that type of behavior. And now they got to compete without being enhanced. And we gonna let it be that, and we're not finna let this money stuff that's finna be talked about next interfere. So let's continue what this executive order is talking about. The convergence and numerous pressure to win football and basketball is loosening. And by the way, if y'all want to compete, y'all need to start a football in the Olympics and see how y'all. That could be in the winter. So y'all want to do a football. That will show y'all who's stronger than who. And we'll show y'all something. Yeah, soccer, it's very international, so I ain't tripping. Americano football, how about that? But basketball loosening both the litigation and state legislation and constant rules and limits concerning eligibility transfers and pay for play schemes has created an out of control financial arms race in these sports and driving universities into debt. Now I'm making this up because the only thing that's gonna be in debt is those small universities, and they used to pay little universities that didn't have a lot of a budget just to beat them in football games and basketball games. So I don't understand that. But I'm finna end my show today. I didn't get to it. I don't want this guy interrupting me. So I'm finna get off this, and we're gonna continue. I'm gonna finish this executive order. And sorry I didn't get to it. Quick basketball. Quick basketball. I'm mad. Cleveland should win tonight. I got them winning. I think Atlanta's gonna upset New York tonight. That's my upset pick, and I also think the Minnesota. I didn't know Anthony Ellis was that hurt, so I'm not gonna go with Minnesota on the upset. They're gonna win Game 3 probably because the home crowd, home court advantage. But they can win if the bench steps up. And the only person who should have a big game against the Timberwolves is Jokic. Everybody else, Jamal Murray, hold him to under 15 points, and don't allow him to facilitate and make somebody else be the facilitator. I think they could beat them. So that's my keys for the Denver. You gotta put one of those guys on ice, and Jokic go get his, but he does not like to be the only person to being dominant in the game. You got to make it tough for him, make him frustrated. And he's gonna be winning. He's gonna dominate and be frustrated. He does. He's like the. He's a real team player. So get him frustrated in that manner, and everybody else, and they need to hit more shots for the Timberwolves to win. That was unnecessary. I think they didn't have a good game plan the first game. I don't know what the Raptors is. I think Brandon Ingram is the X factor for them to win. He needs to average 30 games, not no 17 points. He really was 35 last game, but he got to step up and be that star scorer. And if you're not gonna help defensively, because you got to commit one of these you need to commit to. You need to commit defensively, or you need to commit. Donovan Mitchell need to be held under 15 to 20 points, or you need to go get 35 points and stop making it a big deal. Because that was unnecessary to lose by 13 the first game. I did not like how that looked. If my predictions was right, I didn't get to speak on it, but it is what it is. The Knicks, Atlanta, I think they have a strong, they match up about the same. Karl Anthony Towns had a huge game. He had 20 plus points. That was the difference maker, really. And I think CJ and Johnson had a big game, and they just got overshadowed by Anthony Towns putting in that offensive game. He always steps up defensively, but he controlled the whole game. And Brunson did his thing offensively, but he's a liability on the wing. Johnson 6'9", 6'10" point guard. He can't do nothing with him. They need to put him in pick and roll actions all the time. Switch him on Johnson. He need to post up in front of wing and slow the game down a little bit. And I can't pronounce Agul. He need to have 15 plus, and he need to do better defensively. They need to double. They need to force the double out of Karl Anthony Towns. Make him shoot threes. He did a good job making his threes, but they need to keep him outside. They need to control the perimeter and the paint this game. CJ McCullough had a big game. He's not a bad defender. So, they could do better. They was what they were known for with defense. And that's how they got to the playoffs. That's how they got the seed they got. So Atlanta to get back to playing tough defense on the perimeter and doubling and controlling the paint. And that's my take on that. Yesterday's game, I'm not gonna speak on what happened, so I'll speak on it. Y'all know I go real fast. I'm really on that. I've been watching, so that's my take on the three games. I got Toronto and Cleveland is a coin flip. If Toronto want to stop Donovan Mitchell from scoring and Brandon Ingram want to drop 30 plus and win, that's what the difference for me. Everybody else is in the middle doing them. They got enough talent. RJ Barrett, if you want to step up, um, um, quickly, Barnes, all y'all are talented enough. Y'all got, to me, y'all energy is second fiddle, third fiddle type energy with star potential, superstar potential. If we all want to decide to all have that energy of success and establish rules, y'all can easily beat Cleveland. Cleveland has a nice structure on what role they're playing. Their two big men are very unselfish. The way the NBA is designed is not big man league driven. Evan Mobley knows how to play in and out. Jared Allen knows how to control the paint. He's a very unselfish person, and Donovan Mitchell is a person that has, let's put it like this: he has star power. He's overachieved to me. Just his abilities. He doesn't quit. He shoots the ball. He's not afraid to intimidate it. And some days he's making a lot of them. And if you get him off his own game, he could go 1 for 10 anytime. So he's an overachiever. And the rest of the guys, I don't think Cleveland is that talented, but they got a good team. They're a great team, and they know how to win together. So that's the difference. And Toronto has way more talent than Cleveland. I don't know how they lost by 13. I do not like seeing that. That's like people don't know how to coach. People don't know how to motivate their team to win. So that stuff be frustrating to me. And just you being the coach, you got to tell your player to be this guy. This is what I need you to be tonight. This is what I need you to be tonight. If I ever coached you in football, basketball, everybody know that I tell the roles who can get the roles is already established if they that young. You get me from first prep. You got to identify what their role is going to be. Now in the pros, all of this should be is tell them, one time they should understand what it is. You the still the overseer of the team though. So that's it for basketball. The draft is Thursday. My spirits is high. I want people that I know or people that I want them to hopefully get a good nice opportunity, across the board. So we're gonna cross our fingers. My mind is still high on all that. And that's it for that. Um I ain't gonna say much. I got stuff to do. I gotta head out, and I got we still active. So this is Dynasty the Podcast Show. I'm your host, Ira Thomas Bush the Fourth, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.